Apologize for that. Today we're going to have a discussion on business owner wealth and evaluating business owner wealth in risk models. And joining me today is Mr. Peter Bolin. He's the Director of Analytics and Consulting for Experian. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Gary. Good morning, everyone.
So let's just kick off this discussion. Business owner wealth and small business owners in evaluating risk. What's it all about?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Thanks, everyone. So as I travel around talking to hundreds of clients a year, one theme that always comes back is, hey, Pete, can you and Experian help us get to yes? We know that there is a pool of small businesses, a pool of small business owners out there that are small, that are emerging, that are cutting edge, maybe not solid yet, but they don't have a credit file, what we typically call maybe credit invisibles or maybe thin files. But we know that they have a good idea. We know that they're good product and services, but we can't approve them. Is there anything you can do to help us get to yes?
Okay.
So at Experian, we got to thinking about that. We have a tremendous amount of data assets, as everyone knows. So we looked around and we said, hey, there is this new product that we have called the Wealth Opportunity Score. And that estimates, based on our proprietary database, the wealth of an individual. So we got to thinking, does wealth of a business owner affect the opportunity to be approved? And that's what we're here to talk about today, Gary. Can we use the Wealth Opportunity Score on a business owner? Based on a sample of our data, we have some great results, and we definitely feel that we can help lenders, wholesalers, target marketers get to yes.
Okay. So you mentioned getting to yes, and so what does that mean in terms of, say, a new business or a business that has, say, a very thin credit file? How does that work?
So the first thing that we do when we're evaluating any new data source, and while this has been at Experian for a year or two, it's new. We're introducing it for the first time to the commercial space for a business owner. The first thing we do is say, okay, can we get a predictive lift by using this data? And the answer is yes. And in particular, can we use this in the thin file, in the very, very small emerging businesses that maybe we could refer to as the credit invisibles? It's kind of an overused term. Invisible to who? So we're using this in this example as credit invisible are a very thin file or maybe have no file on the commercial credit report. So we took a sample of business owners in that population and we added this Wealth Opportunity Score as an attribute within our demographic only segment. And we said, yes, indeed, this does help the predictive power of that segment, going from a KS of a 16 to a 23. A KS, for those of you who might not know, that's the Kolmogorov-Smirnov statistic. That's the industry standard for measuring the predictiveness of the model. The higher the KS, the better the separation between the goods and the bad. And we're seeing that, yes, by just including this data on the credit invisible / thin file, that segment was able to improve the predictive power by 43%. Wow,
that's incredible. So we discussed the better prediction of risk using the owner wealth. What does rank ordering have to do with that, and why is that such a big deal?
So as quant jocks, sometimes we get overemphasize the KS, the ROC, the Gini, area under curve, and those are all important statistics. But we can't forget about another critical part, which is the stability of the model. And that's where we look at how well it rank orders. We'd like to see a nice, smooth, monotonic progression in the rank ordering of the bads throughout the decile. So we would like to see a large number of bads pushed down to the riskiest scoring and fewer number of bads pushed up to the least risky. And as you can see, when we added the Wealth Opportunity Score to our demographic only file, we got a nice, more smooth, monotonic progression which says not only do we get lift like we talked about in the first slide, but we're also improving the stability of the model, which is very, very important. And as you can see, it's still a little bit choppy. So some of you might say, the skeptics out there might say, gee, Pete, this is all pretty choppy. However, keep in mind, this is a demographic thin file. Not much to go on other than some key demographic items. But by adding the wealth opportunity score, we're able to increase the predictiveness and the stability of the model.
Wow. Okay. So there's been a lot of talk about women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses lately. How does wealth play in the role in accessing credit for minorities and in particular women-owned businesses?
Absolutely. Gary, that's a huge topic right now. Access to credit. Do minority-owned businesses and especially women-owned businesses have access to credit? So we're also looking at data to help evaluate that. So the next thing we did is we were curious, say, okay, is there a difference between a male-owned business and a female-owned business when it comes to wealth? And really, if you look at the bottom two lines on the curve, you see that there's really not. They're pretty similar. They're fairly similar. There is some blips on the lower side. So if you're looking at the left side of the graph, you do see where that pink line is the female owner. They do tend to have slightly lower wealth, and that's measured on the first y-axis. And so what we're saying is that there's really no difference. So if you're looking at wealth, there isn't much difference between a woman-owned business and a male-owned business. So that should not be a prohibitor in access to credit. The other thing that we looked at on the other secondary x-axis is the whole concept around annual spend. Now, this is annual spend on the business owner personally, not the business. So I just want to make that clear. Mm-hmm. We looked at that and we saw similar trends, that there really wasn't much difference in spending, except in the very, very high quadrant up there. There was a little bit of difference in the extremely wealthy. And actually, it says that male business owners, had much more annual spend. So not only were we introducing the wealth opportunity score, which is a new concept in commercial lending, we're also looking at the total plastic spend on the business owner personally, which we found is a very powerful indicator, especially when you're trying to target market.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, changing gears a little now to target marketing, and how does wealth help with those that are maybe in the market for credit?
Well, it's very interesting, Gary, because what we find is that there's an inverse relationship between wealth and in the market. So very, very wealthy owners are not as in the market based on our in the market score. We have a business credit seeker model which predicts the likelihood that someone's going to open up a new trade, so that they're in the market. They're really serious about it, and we threw these attributes and this score into that model, and what we found is that intuitively, I think it makes a lot of sense as well. What we see is that lower wealthy business owners are more in the market, right? They don't have any personal wealth. They need capital. They need access to capital. They're anxious to get capital. So there's a higher percentage of the lower wealth spectrum that are looking for credit. However, that's not to say that the high end, so if you look at the very high one, 3 million or more in wealth, there's also a percentage, 9.5% of the population that are also looking for credit. Mm-hmm. They could be a small business. They could have two employees or less. They could be around for 2 years or less, but they have high net worth. They might be invisible on the commercial side, and this wealth opportunity score will definitely help lenders and wholesalers get to yes.
Mm-hmm. And so do the other particular industries that you recommend targeting with the new business credit seeker model?
Sure. That was the other kind of thing that was surprising to me. I'll be very frank. This surprised me, because when we looked at the industries and then we plotted the risk scores and we plotted the bad rates, and then we looked at the wealth of the individual, or sorry, not the wealth at this particular point. We're looking at here is the actual in the market. What we found is that the industries that have the highest in the market percentage, which is measured on the blue bar,
Hmm.
and then we looked at their average IPv2 score, that's experience commercial risk score, predicted likelihood of a trade going 91 plus. We see a convergence that the agricultural, wholesale trade, and mining industry, which surprised the heck out of me, were the three industries that had the highest percentage and likelihood to be in the market, and also had the highest IP score, which means they had the lowest risk. The mining industry in particular, Gary, is shocking because over the last 8 years, without beginning too politically sensitive, that industry has taken a battering in the last nine years. Big cuts, big cutbacks in traditional coal mining. And what we're seeing now with some of the new administration's outlook on mining, the regulations are coming off, and we're predicting that this could be a very big growth opportunity for our clients in terms of marketing, in terms of wholesale credit, traditional lines of credit, and traditional term type credit. The mining industry in the market and a very high IPv2 score. And later on, we'll see also some interesting wealth information about that as well.
Excellent. So you talked about credit scores. What about bad debt rates and industry targeting? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, very, very similar results. We also wanted to look and see what the bad rates were for each of these industries to give the viewers an opportunity to see this trend. And this is also the exact same thing as you saw with the score. Relatively low risk. Agricultural, wholesale trade, mining, again, when you look at their bad rates as measured on that secondary axis, but high in the market. Very, very surprising to me. Once again, I did not expect to see, especially the mining, given the fact that they've been hammered the last 9 months. So again, if you're looking about low risk industries to target, those are the three that I would recommend.
And does owner wealth matter in these industries in particular?
It does. It does, especially in the mining industry. You see some interesting wealth statistics. If you look at the distribution of the wealth opportunity score, which once again predicts the wealth of the business owner or the individual, but in this case we scored it with business owners. You see some blips, those yellow bars, some blips, and as you can see, there's also a tremendous opportunity really up there in that big. Look at up there. There's a significant percentage in all three of these industries, but particular mining industry, that have extremely high net worth. We already know from previous slides that they have low risk, low bad rates.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the mining industry, high wealth, high scores, low bad rates. Again, another indication that using this data can help you get the yes.
What about micropreneurs? You know, these businesses that are just emerging, just getting started. They're credit invisible, right? Does the business owner wealth factor come into lending and risk models?
Certainly. And the whole concept of a micropreneur, that's kind of a new term. I'm not even sure it is a word, but maybe we invented it. The micropreneur is a great concept. Very, very small businesses. It's not uncommon, Gary, that I get the following statement made to me when I'm talking to clients. Pete, we don't approve anyone that's been in business for 2 years or less. We don't approve anyone that has 2 employees or less. We don't approve anyone who's a sole proprietor. We want to avoid those type of businesses. And I would urge all of the listeners and all the viewers to think a second time about that. Because even if you look at the far right-hand side bar, there are 28% of the population with 3 million or more in estimated wealth. 28% of that population have been in business or have one or two employees or less, that wealth could be used in your personal guarantee situation, that could be used as collateral. The other nice thing about the Wealth Opportunity Score, before I forget, is actually evaluating the net worth of an individual. It gives you an opportunity to verify that. So it's very common in these situations that a small business, one or two employees or less, goes in for an application, applies, and they have to have a personal guarantee, and they say, I'm worth $3 million. Well, how do you know? Well, with this system, you could come to Experian and at least get an estimate that that wealth is right, that you verified that wealth, and that you can set your credit limits, you can set your pricing, and you can set your approval accordingly. So again, what does it mean for the micropreneur? It means that if they have wealth, it's another data point that can help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's helping them get their businesses started. It's helping to drive the economy, which is, at the same time, this is good for everybody. It's a win-win situation. It sounds like to me, anyway.
Absolutely. Gary, the whole concept of what we're talking about today comes from my personal passion, and I know Experian Business Information Services as an entity's passion to be an advocate for the small business owners. We talk about it frequently, and through this passion, we're looking at all of our data assets. Can we use our data assets for good? And the good is, as small businesses goes, so goes the United States. And I'm really passionate, and I know Experian and Business Information Services is passionate about turning over every leaf, every piece of data that will fuel small business growth and fuel our economy.
That's awesome. Okay, so, well, this has been excellent, Peter. I think if folks are interested in this, we'll just invite them to drop a comment on the video here if you find this on YouTube, or come to our website, experian.com/B2B. I'm sure we can connect you to Pete and his experts in business information if you want to talk about business owner wealth models. Peter, I want to thank you so much for taking time out this morning to come on and talk to us about this topic. I really enjoyed our chat and would love to have you back again in the future.
Thank you, Gary. I had a lot of fun. My first live TV spot.
All right. Thank you, Pete. Have a good day. And
thank you.
Have a good day, everybody else. Thank you so much for coming to our live video. As I said, we're just wading into this. We'd love to have more of these live shows. If you've got ideas for live shows, if there's things about business information, things that would help you be more successful in business or evaluating risk, just send us a note on our YouTube channel. We'd be happy to consider that, maybe put a show together, maybe even invite you on as a guest. And that's it for today. So thank you, everyone, and have a good day.